Hello, can you hear me? Hey, 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 it's Sarah Jane. Are you here? Sarita, hi. Hello, hello. Nice to see you. It is the top of the hour, and I'm just waiting for Ivonne to come on in. And where everyone else is. Just give her a little boost here. Christina, hello. Hello, hello. This is a new platform for me, so I am so happy that we're all connected. There you all are. And you're all muted. So just give me, just unmute yourselves. Let me know if you can hear me. No? Yes? Mm-hmm. So I don't know where Yvonne is. So I'm going to just start anyway, and hopefully she'll come. But I just want to welcome you, first of all. Let me just see what's going on here. So tell me, unmute yourselves and just introduce yourselves and tell me what brought you here today and what you'd like to get out of this this time together.
Hello and greetings from Pretoria, South Africa. Christina here. Can I say, Jane?
Hey, Christina. Good to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. I'm still figuring out how Zoom works, but seems I am in here.
Me too. It's a great experiment.
But it seems everything is working here.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Jane, for hosting.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. I haven't done a live call for a while, and I was really excited to introduce you to Yvonne. She's an incredible woman, and I hope that she shows up. I mean, she knew the time. We've got a time difference here, but we've been communicating, so I'm sure she's just been held up. And I just really want to just ask you both, Sarita, Christina, what would you like to most change right now, Sarita? What's going on for you?
Hi.
Hello. Going on.
Christina. Hello, Sarah Jane. I think I am just feeling really stuck, and I am not trusting anything about myself at the moment. Yeah, so
yeah, well, thank you for your vulnerability. Carol's just joined. Hi, Carol. Welcome. I can only just see the top of your head, but yeah. So, Sarita, I think first of all, I'm so happy that you joined this, because I think it's something that I certainly have spent a lifetime rebuilding: is trusting myself, trusting other people, trusting in God, trusting in life, really. And I think the times that we're living in, they're really pretty crazy right now. And most of the people that are in my tribe really are empaths. You're very highly sensitive. You tend to, I don't know you very well, but tell me if this is sort of resonating with you, is, you know, you take on more than you are physically capable of in changing things. So, you know, it's just like, really, is that what can you trust in yourself that isn't yours to change, or isn't yours to try and make anything other than it is. So there's a lot of confusion around that. Even as I'm speaking into this, Christina knows me and Carol knows me. I very much go on intuitive feel of what is required in this call. You know, what is it that you want? So there's no script. There's nothing here other than open conversation and dialogue for us all to grow together and really look at, you know, where are you not feeling like you're enough right now? So you are all unmuted. No, you're muted. Carol, if you'd like to introduce yourself and just let us know what brought you to the call, and how I can support you, how we as a team of women here can support you tonight. You see a flower, a big orchid over your screen, so I don't know if you can hear me, Carol. But yeah, so so there's some confusion coming up. Carol, when you're ready, you can just unmute yourself and jump in. But what do you need that's going to really sort of ground and anchor? Because I think we need anchors always to really look at how can we quieten our minds down? How can we really look within and listen to our hearts? Because we're in an environment that is saying, stay away from your heart. Don't trust yourself. You have to look outside to see what you need to respond to. And this is this reactive state that we find ourselves in, where we're not able to get calm. We're not able to get quiet. And we tend to get into this chaos and confusion because we're not listening to our hearts. So how do you create peace? How do you create calm to listen to that intuitive voice for yourself? And is it working? So that's the question that I'd like to open up to you is, you know, where do you feel like you'd like some support in creating that peace and calm where you can just totally trust that you're going to do this, or you're going to be in this space regardless of how crazy things are around you?
I think for me, I just can't find that space. I just cannot find that space. I cannot relax into knowing that things will be okay and that I have any power whatsoever to shape things. I just cannot find that space. Been struggling. Been about a year, and I have really been struggling with that. I just cannot. I feel like I'm blocked and cut off. That's how I feel.
So thank you. So would you say that you're blocked and cut off from your own sense of being? Is it a spiritual bypass? What does it feel like when you say I feel cut off? You know, and I want you to really get into feeling, and I'm going to give you an exercise that I use, especially with animals, because they really get the feeling of energy. But does it make sense that when we're afraid to feel, especially fear, and not the fear that's, you know, designed to keep us safe, designed to keep us out of harm's way, that when we are resisting that feeling of what that feels like and where you feel that in your body, that you're constantly searching and looking outside of yourself for a place that you can actually just feel safe. So is it a safety thing?
Yes, I think it's a safety thing. I'm in a position where I have just turned 51 and I am starting over in every aspect of my life. And I just don't know that I have what it takes. I can't find that space where I know that I have what it takes. That's the thing. So yeah, I'm scared. I've got no idea what lies ahead. I've got no idea where to from here.
Yeah, and I hear you. I'm also over 50. And the old conditioning and the programming really is that when you sort of hit a certain age, that your usage is kind of expired, that we don't have a sense of belonging or purpose anymore. So interesting that we literally have those sort of life breakdowns at an age where we're really coming into that rite of passage of being wise enough and experienced enough through all the challenges that we've actually endured and recovered from, that we feel like we don't know anything and we don't know what to do, and yet we create everything, don't we? So it's one of those sort of paradoxes where we've sort of legitimized this old patriarchal place that says we have to pathologize ourselves, that we need a pill for something, or we need to medicate, or we need to get into some kind of addiction, rather than just know what we know, which is like, holy crap, thank God I got all that out of my way, and have a sense of belonging in yourself, that you actually are more powerful than you were when you were a teenager, or when you were in your 30s, or when you're in your 40s. So how much of what we are creating is this place where in sort of somatic therapeutic worlds we call this functional freeze? Because if we kind of just for a moment explore that the external, the microcosm, the macrocosm, or what's happening on the outside is actually an indication of how we're feeling on the inside, is as much as turning that into, if I have to live this to the best of my abilities in making my life mean something and matter, that as much as life gives us that opportunity, we're also contributing to life in the collective. And when we do this sort of accounting of all the experiences and the stories, we keep validating this inner child who once upon a time, and I know many of us, who's just joined the call? There is Yvonne. Hi, Yvonne. And Sarita is here. Great. So this is awesome. But it's this place where we're on the outside, we look fine and we calm. We're kind of going into a place of really being shut down to hear this beautiful voice of truth that never really leaves us. It's that part that we're afraid. We're afraid to feel afraid. Yvonne, hi, sweetheart. Hello. Hi, George.
Can you hear me?
There you are. We can.
Finally. Hi, everyone.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
There she is. So welcome, my sweet friend. We were waiting for you to come on the line. Sarita's here, Christina's here, Carol is here, and Joy just jumped off. But so grateful to have this opportunity to Yvonne. Yvonne, you've got a really bad connection. But I would love, we were just sort of I was asking everybody sort of what is their biggest desire to change or to have some way of moving forward through this time that is so chaotic and a lot of fear that's coming up for people in general, just to their own lives and what they're going through. So I'd love you to introduce yourself and just welcome to my community, and thank you for being here with me and all of us.
Oh, I don't have I just saw that comment. I don't have a reason to leave. Oh my gosh, that's from I want to talk about it. Well, hi everyone. Sarah, thank you so much for inviting me. I am super honored to be here. I hope some of my people in my community are trying to log in too, but for some reason they cannot log in, but that's okay because you will have this recorded, right?
Yes, hopefully, if everything's going well. It's
yeah. Okay, so my name is Ivonne delaFlor. In this earth, the things I do, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a spiritual teacher, and I'm also the creator of a system called Transcendental Rebirthing System. I'm a mother, and I say to myself that I'm a faiter. I'm always, faith is my modus operandi, faith in action. I'm a nowist, love the present moment. And I'm also a futurist. I teach a system called futuring, and which is kind of a paradox, right? I'm talking about the now, being present here and now, but I also teach how to design futures, because some of us have the tendency to bring a lot of the memories from the past to the here and now and create our life experience as an echo from the past rather than the creation of the next great moment that is this life, right? And I've published a couple of books, around 17 books, all around consciousness, meditation, and the experiences that I've had traveling through India, and connections that I have with God. And I homeschool. I am a mom of 3 kids, one that is 19 that just told me, Mom, I want to go to Japan with my boyfriend. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll talk about it later. I'm going to talk to my friend of the process of return to trust. Let me see if I can do that return to trust before I answer that question. I was like, okay. And then I have a son who was diagnosed with the level of autism. He's 16 years old. And he's one of the biggest teachers, obviously, in my life. And a little one who is 6 years old. All my kids being homeschooled. And I'm divorced in the 3D. And that's my little introduction, Sarah.
It doesn't say half of what you actually stand for, but I love it. You know, I think you're so instrumental in really adding to the expansion of this thing of how do we stay present in the moment, in that presencing of really using that real high active accountability to mother ourselves. Before you got on the line, Sarita was just saying she just feels so lost at the moment. That she's over 50, she's starting her life. It feels like her life is starting all over again. And I know that the people that I know that are on this call, we've all been through that sort of the death of the old self, where everything's been stripped away and it feels like we're never going to recover. And we all have not just recovered, but gone from strength to strength in really becoming the mother energy and the father energy, but more the mother energy of really looking at how can we trust ourselves to be that nurturing, kind, non-judgmental space for us in the present to create the future, because we want to know where we're going. And I just relate to that myself. Before you came on the call, I know we discussed that we were just going to follow the energy and really speak to what was being asked for. And you know, looking at Carol and the pain, there's so much pain here around the uncertainty of the future, of how do we create from this place of not spiritually bypassing or avoiding pain or resisting pain, but really sitting with our pain and finding that reason that's bigger than us to have the selfish why, but know that I'm getting out of bed today because I am making a difference. So could you speak a little bit to that?
Yes, obviously I'm gonna change. I'm gonna speak through the filters of my experience and through my work that is very systemic of transcendental rebirthing, which is very much like family constellations. And I've helped like around 7,000 people all over the world over more than now rebirth. And what you are talking about right now. First, I want to address one thing that you said, that people are uncertain of their future. There's so much fear of the uncertainty, right? The uncertainty doesn't really come about the future that is unknown, but that we are carrying the memory of our past into the projection of something that hasn't yet come, which I think is such great news for all of us humans, that the future doesn't really freaking exist. I'm so happy for that, for all of us, that the creator created something that didn't exist, for all of us to be able to write a white canvas that is our choices and be able to change our lives. That feeling of everything being stripped up, it's so true. I went through, still going through a divorce, but it's on this way out. But a year and a half ago, I had an experience where my life literally was stripped from everything I know. Identity online, it was a very big social media kind of madness there. Every single identity I had, I was being called to relinquish it. I was at a time in my life that I was ready to see that I was called to relinquish that this was not an event happening to me, but it was happening as a gift for my soul. Because where I wanted to go as a soul, it was not exactly where I was, what I was creating. I was miserable in my relationship. I stayed miserable in my relationship for 5 years because I was selling myself as this spiritual teacher that it was the perfect mother, the perfect person in business. It was all a Photoshop freaking reality that I actually chose to co-create. And in a way, I was creating all of that misery. I was trying, even though I have been a mentor and a teacher since I'm 17 and 46, you do the math, right? And I've had experiences like that. I had a near-death experience at the age of 17 where I lost an arm, they put it back, I was dead 30 seconds. So I've had experiences in my life where I know what it is to be ripped off everything, where your life changes in 1 second, right? But this call from a year and a half ago, which I know a lot of people are experiencing now with the energies of the eclipse and past months, is getting intensified. What I can tell you is the call for the soul is being placed. Is the longing that humanity has had to return to source, to return to God within themselves, is stronger than ever before. The darkness in the world, the inability to see what's coming is increasing because now we can see the darkness. Before we couldn't see. We live something that in futuring is called the bright world. There's 4 types of future, and I think this may serve to someone here. There's dark, dim, bright, and brilliant. And this is something created by German quantum physicists in the remote viewers in Russia. This is a system they found out that the governments, didn't want to put out into the world because that will give more power to the people, right? But the dark future is the future that we all, a lot of people are right now, that they think there's no way I can live anymore. There's no way I can trust. Everything proves me right now. You just turn on the news here in the United States and you want to turn it off. It's like turning on the TV here. It's like, let's see the doom of creation right now. Let's see the apocalypse in motion. I don't watch it, but that's darkness. Darkness is you want to kill yourself. You don't want to live anymore. You've lost all the faith. There's no way you're going to make it. No one is going to love you. You are not worth it. That's darkness, right? The dim future that a lot of people are projecting, and most of humanity were there, okay, is the dimness of, if you have it, Sarah, you should give to me. I shouldn't work. You are working, give it to me. Is the gossip sound. Is the I'd rather use my investment of my energy and time in gossiping about others, in using parasite strategies, in staying in my story of misery and suffering because it's comfortable. Dimness is the world where excuses and justifications are okay just to exist. I don't care about anything else, just take to exist, right? That's the dim future. And then there's the bright, that a lot of people think that's the life, is the entrepreneurial world. Is the I got married, I have the kids, I have the husband, I have the car, I made it, I'm a high ticket seller. I can sell all of this. I have all these people in my programs. You see the pictures on Facebook and Instagram and everything looks so freaking beautiful, but you wake up alone every 3 a.m., 4 a.m. knowing there's something else. There's a lack of fulfillment in the process. And there's this pain inside of you that you try to cover up with some people with alcohol, other people with things, other people purchasing things, with addictions, with habits, but it's not fulfilling. And that's what marketing is selling us. The marketing of failure, the marketing of if you divorce, you're a failed woman. If you are 50, you are old. I'm 46. I'm about to be 46 years old. It's all the marketing that is set up for a humanity to believe that's what it needs to live. But then there's a brilliant future, which I truly believe we're entering right now with the Divine Mother and Divine Father energy, which is everything that you are not will be stripped away. Because it is so painful not to be who you came here to be. And I'm hearing some music. I don't know if...
Yeah, I can hear it too. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's kind of that elevator music, which is always synchronicity of stuff. It's just like, well, that's so interesting. You know, it's just like the blah-de-blah-de-blah. It's the, you know, that whole thing, like you're saying, is just like the brilliant future is what we all want. And I think that's the lethargy and the exhaustion that so many people are feeling right now, is that there is this over-attachment to the identity of what that just like success, you know, it's like success for you, success for me doesn't necessarily look the same way as somebody else, but there's this constant pushing and forcing, like you said, that we all look funny, happy and glossy on the outside, but the masks, underneath all the masks, there's this deep pain, this deep sense of avoidance through the addictions and everything else, where people are, you know, it's the ego. It's like we're not giving anything to the ego when we're in a place of non-attachment. So how do we come back to this authenticity of really getting connected with spirit, with faith, with trust, to be able to trust that like Sarita right now, like so many people that I know in my community, the attachment is the identity to the story of the worst possible scenario and outcome, where you're saying so beautifully, and I get that and I know we all get that on a sort of intuitive level, is that what do I need to trust that all my needs are taken care of? It still requires some action, aligned action to the soul speak. But where's the sort of cornerstone to have no expectations, to not judge? These are things that we say, but it's not enacted in our daily stuff. I see this with my daughter every day. You know, she really brings me back to say, hey, you're out of integrity, you're out of alignment, and get back into asking the questions that give us this connection to getting out of our own way.
Right. Yeah, for me, you know, I keep hearing the music. Maybe the microphone.
I don't know where it is.
Maybe the microphones are open and we can hear the microphones from someone.
Yeah, Sunny I'm going to put her in mute. Maybe it's Sunny. There you go.
Okay. So for me, you know what? Right now, I think we've been trained as a humanity, some of us, to feel that you have to feel good all of the time. That's the first thing, that if the baby cries, don't let him cry. You know, if it's uncomfortable, don't do it. If it's painful, it's bad. We've judged our pain more than anything in the world. And from judging the pain, we have built a story around it that has given us a false sense of meaning in our lives. So when that is ripped off and ripped away, the story is ripped away. For example, I thought I was going to be married forever. I was a wife. I was a wife of a powerful spiritual man. That was my identity. And then suddenly, boom, that's taken away. And now what role, what identity am I going to wear? The good news on all this separation and this sense of loss, is that we are never, ever separated, whatever you call it, God, creation, and consciousness. The illusion of separation is the birth of the ego. The illusion of separation is the birth of the ego. And how do we return to trust? How do we return to be aligned? Obviously, we're in this three-dimensional manifestation, this earth, and I love your word. You know, for me, just being in nature, grounding myself, literally doing grounding exercises of going barefoot on the earth and feeling I am here, and asking the big questions, what is next for me? You know, we stop believing in the future that we can create when we stop asking questions. When we have given the power to believe that our ego is right, that the ego will tell you, because that's how it survives, that you won't be able to move forward, that there's no hope for the future, that you suck, that you are not worthy, that you are alone. That is, that if the ego wins that race, well, that's cool. Then we'll become one more of the billion people living like a herd. But if for a moment we remember that that's just an illusion, if for a moment we remember that the story that we've created of who we are is not who we are. Who we are has never, ever disappeared. And in A Course in Miracles, that I've studied for years, it says that really the presence of God is in you, right? And that will never go away. What goes away is our sense of separation, and the process of us letting go of our identity may feel painful because you've attached all of a lifestyle, a lifetime, the identity you wanted to sell to people to that. But we are far much more than an identity. We are creation in itself. So one of the things at this time in life, is for me is disconnect to connect. And what do I mean by that? A lot of people are using all of their energy right now on the internet. I work through the internet, so I'm very mindful on how to use it, but as much as I can, I go to nature. I go disconnect to reconnect, right? Like I'm going to disconnect from all of this that gives me a sense of meaning, and I'm going to go in the quiet. These are really times where God is speaking louder or source is speaking louder. And the only reason we're not listening is because we're attached to give a story to the pain. And we're creating suffering. Suffering is the story of pain. Suffering is the story of how I fail. I'm unworthy. All of those lies that the ego will tell us for us just to be part of the norm. But we are not that. We are meant to be us. The greatest mission in life that we can live is being ourselves. And really loving people enough to not care what they think about us. Loving people enough to not care what they will do or say. And so the first thing you'll be like disconnect to reconnect. So I'm believing all of these darkness about myself. I'm believing this is going to be a terrible time. I'm believing that I'm not going to be able to make it. So I will go to a place where I can return back to the womb, to nature, right? That's why the work with horses is so powerful, because they have the rhythm in their bodies of creation. That's number one. Number two, keep serving people. The only reason we go in depression is when we stop thinking about others and we're only thinking about the story of the poor me, ourselves, right? So for me, if I feel down, if I feel drained, I literally find a space in me where I can be of service to others, either if it's animals, you go out, either if it's picking up trash on the street, even if it's just go and serve the homeless community, whatever it is. Because I've noticed, I used to experience depression, and I used to experience a lot of things, especially after the near-death experience, right? But what takes me out of the poor story of me is serving others. And one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, used to say to me, Ivonne, the reason you are depressed is because you are only thinking about you. I'm like, yes, but look at my response to Tony. Oh, Tony, yes, but did you see all that happen? And he was like, to you? He's a very strong mentor. Huh? Oh, to you. I was like, yes. And I wanted him to tell me, validate my suffering, right? I'm like, but look at all that happened. I lost an arm. I kept an arm. I was sexually abused when I was little. All of my story, I wanted to be heard. And Tony said, yeah, so how much longer you want to keep that story? You're only thinking of you. You are so selfish. He really challenged me. I kind of didn't like him at that moment, but afterwards, it helped me a lot. And I was like, I'm only thinking about me. He's like, yes, it's like the world just died for you, right? You're only thinking of you. And so the second one is really be of service. And don't despair if you, for example, if you serve online and if you get only one like, right? That right now is one of the biggest sources of depression of people. The amount of likes or not that they have on Facebook is incredible. But be of service. Look for something that gets you out of that funk. And number 3, I really believe we have to return to God. You know, not in an aspect of religion, but to the God intelligence that is operating this universe, this natural law that promises to all of us. And every day it shows us that things do get better. We are evolutionary beings. And if we forget that, we kind of are disassociating from our own godly energy. We're disassociating from the power of love that we may have for ourselves and for others. And you know, and returning to that is going to strip away everything we're not. Any idol that we have will be destroyed. The idol of my husband should have saved me, my mother should have understand me, the world should have understand my pain. We create idols of expecting to be rescued when we are the ones we've been waiting for. You know, all of those idols have to be removed in order for us to find that power that is within us. Another one of my teachers, Byron Katie, always says, there's no teacher, Ivonne, there's no enemy, you are the only one. I was like, oh my gosh, now what? Now who can I blame, right? And so those are just little things, because I don't know how much time we have. And but there is a rebirth going on right now in humanity. We are going through a process of rebirth. We are returning to that dark space of the womb. The dark space of the womb. You know, we see a lot of chaos internally and externally in the world. We see a lot of contraction energy, right? And the universe is always contracting and expanding. Just like when there's contractions in the womb announcing the birth of a child. The most biggest miracle on this earth is the birth of a human being. And the second biggest miracle is when that human being discovers why he or she is here. And so in the process of this rebirth that we're going through, I believe that to embrace that ripping off, that stripped away, that pain, it's like if we are all naked right now in humanity, like our skin is like very sensible to everything. I invite anyone that can tap for one moment to believe in themselves, for one little moment, to regain hope that is not the external world that will give them redemption or salvation or however you want to call it, but in them, truly the Christ consciousness energy is rebirthing right now. You know, I do not belong to any religion, but I do believe a lot on the energy of Christ and God. I am a believer in that. And so to judge our pain right now, it's a disservice to our soul, because we are right now in the process of the contractions and expansions inside the womb of creation. We are birthing into our new us. We are being called, a lot of us, especially those of you, I don't know, I felt so connected to the person that said, I have no hope to live for. I'm still tracking that person. I don't know who just typed in your group that, Sarah, but I felt, I couldn't see her name, but I felt so strong for her. I'm still feeling her. But that's the call for death. We are entering as a collective in the hero's journey, right? We've been called. The chaos is there, the darkness, you know, the dark night of the soul. But the dark night of the soul is happening because it's calling for us. And those of us who haven't gone into deeper darkness, I am not afraid to tell you that you have a deeper responsibility with humanity than anyone else on earth. You have a moral responsibility, those of you who have survived and thrived from your darkness, from the things that have happened to you. I'm sure here people have lived every single possible thing. I've had in my arms rebirthing people that have been on the San Quentin prisons here, that have been raped, that have committed humanity crimes. I had a lady one time in my arms that she was at 14 because she tried to study in one of the countries that they don't let them study. They remove all of her nails and they cut one finger because she dared to study at 14. And I had her in my arms rebirthing that. And the reason I share this with you is because the darkness shouldn't scare us. We are light beings. The darkness we're living, the hopelessness we're feeling, the chaos we're experiencing is calling us to ignite the light within us. It's calling us to trust one more time, to take that little piece of faith that you may still have. You may say, I don't have faith. But if you didn't have faith, why are you in this call? There is something in you greater than the voice of the ego, which is the voice of the collective. It's like a flu. I just did another call before coming into this one about that. People really feeling my ego is increasing. They are feeling more things intense. I say, welcome it. When you welcome it, you become the eye of the hurricane. You want to see eye to eye these thoughts, this darkness. These thoughts of darkness, of sorrow, of depression are like little kids calling for love and attention. And if we can reparent ourselves, if we can find one single why, if the why in your life is not like, I don't know what to live for, it's not, my daughter's gone, the emptiness, I don't have a husband, I don't have a partner. What if it was God? What if we started to live as Christ used to live? What if we would love just for the sake of love? Why will we not give up in our services just because people are not responding? Natural law does work. The universal laws work in spite of us. Thank God that in the midst of the free will, the universal laws are always operating. The one that is consistent, if you sow, you will reap. If you are consistent, you will activate the love incremental effect. If you keep serving, if you keep trusting, the law of compensation will compensate you. And so to give up right now, because we're paying more attention to the voice of our darkness, is to sacrifice our life. And the metaphor, this is from A Course in Miracles, the metaphor of Jesus being sacrificed, and the metaphor of all of these sacred texts about that crucifixion said, he's doing it, or this energy is doing it, because so that no one else does it again. We don't need to sacrifice ourselves anymore. This is the call right now we're experiencing as a humanity. It's calling for our life. It's calling for us to, build armies of light, create movements of that, movements of love, movements of asking for support. The era of the solopreneur, I love entrepreneurs and all of that stuff, but alone, we cannot do things anymore. We are, as evolutionary beings, going into a future of interdependence, whether we like it or not. One will not survive without the other. And so I really encourage you that the darkness that you are feeling, the pain that you are right now surviving, I promise you will thrive from it. If you stop being afraid of your pain, stop being afraid of your darkness, and stop judging you sweethearts from anything you did on the past. You are not guilty. You are human as everybody else, and you are more worth it than anyone else in this earth. Without you, I tell you this from my heart to yours. I know I was very teaching mode, but without your existence wouldn't be complete. I couldn't be here if Sarah wasn't here. Your existence matters because, we are all part of this puzzle called universe. And if one piece is missing, the whole is missing. So without you, existence wouldn't be complete. And the darkness is just the contraction right now happening in the womb of the divine feminine, in the womb of creation, telling you it's time to be born again. It's time to shine your light. It doesn't matter the age. It doesn't matter what you've done. We have a massive opportunity right now to choose to be the light that we are. We have a massive opportunity to seek for support, to let go of the stories that helped us survive and honor those stories. I can't reject them. I'm a mentor that used to use a lot to support my coachees and my students. I used to use a lot of stop the victimization pattern. let's forget the drama. I made a commitment from the year and a half, this year and a half, that I've lived the most intense, incredible awakening of my life, that I will never use those words again to help people move forward, because it hurts people more than serves them. And so your darkness is not here to haunt you, it's here to serve you. The ego, if you can see your ego in motion, I say to you, be aware of who is watching. The being that you are is not suffering. What suffers is the identity that either the world expects you to be, or that you expected yourself to be in this world. But fortunately, that's dying. Fortunately, we are all having a collective near-death experience right now. A collective near-death experience, because there's a romance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. I'm going to talk now more energetically. There is the reawakening of the divine feminine happening right now. It's happening. And I'm not sure if it's okay, I've talked some astrological aspects, Sarah, with your group.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd just love to add as well, listening to what you say, I totally get this whole thing about that we have to do our own mothering, especially for so many women that I know that never had those first 6 years of safety and trust and their needs met. So they never had anyone to show them how to do that healthy mothering. And what you're speaking to also of the shadow work is that it's when the ego hears and the dark side of the ego, because we need a healthy ego, but that side of the ego, when it sees all the stuff being ripped away and knows that it's the death of the ego, your body thinks that it's the death of your body. So what would you say, and I know that you're going to lead into that with what you were going to share with the sacred geometry, but, questions that are sort of coming up on the feed is, how do you deal with that unresolved trauma from a place of trust? Because we don't trust ourselves, because we were told our whole lives we had to prove that we were lovable. We had to prove that we were trustworthy, but we didn't have a lot of women out there feel like they never had that mirror reflection of what their power and their potency and their potential was, because there was always so much in the way of that. So, all these sort of places of these little hooks that we just feel like, oh, there's an opening. There's the trust and the faith, and it takes one trigger, and they're back into that death of the story, that the story changes so quickly that it just does feel like it's constant, it's never going to end. So what would you say to some of the women that are really feeling like it's like, I'm exhausted, it's just like
Well, you are. The first thing I will say is your emotions have a right to exist. Everything has a right to exist in creation. Your sadness, your fears, your tears, your longing, your desperation, your exhaustion. I want to honor that, because we are survivors. And it's also, I want to honor that in the feminine aspect of men. I want to honor that it has a right to exist. And a lot of systems, people, coaching will say, no, you shouldn't be that. That's like saying to spring, don't come during spring. That's like saying fall, don't come during fall. That's like me, trying to control the tides of the ocean waves. And so, first of all, know that you have your right. And if I was working with anyone here, in rebirthing or something, I would be a strong advocate of no one telling you that you should be feeling different than what you are. That's my first one. The return to trust, we help each other. We help each other, and with that modeling that you just said, Sarah, so the first thing I would do, and I hope I can transmit this through feeling, I hope I can through the internet, but I was with you present. I will promise you, and I do this with my children, no one will dare to tell you what you are feeling is freaking wrong. I I'm known to be a spiritual teacher and all of that stuff. That's the label that I use in the 3D. But I will lose that label. I lose it. I will be such a strong advocate of you. And I'm speaking to the inner child of all of us here. The advocate that we needed was not able to be back then when you suffer, when you had the childhood wounds, especially when you were nonverbal. When we were nonverbal, that we didn't experience the safety and the bonding and connection with our parents. It's not that they did it to us. They just simply didn't have it. But in a higher aspect of our creation, we are bonded and connected with the truth of God, with the truth of love, with the truth of life. And the return to it is first acknowledging that what we feel is what we feel. You know, there is nothing wrong on that. I am the mom that other moms don't like to see outside in the world when my kids do a tantrum and they start crying because I let them cry. I will wait. I will lay down in the floor with them. I'm like, okay, do you need to complete that cycle? Go ahead. And people will be, quiet your child. And I'm like, you know, you may choose to go. Because I will advocate for that cycle so they can be safe right now when they are children. So as they are adults, they have everything they need inside of them, as if they choose. But that's the first one. The second one, I want to talk very quickly about that astrological aspect. It's called the regular star. I rarely talk about astronomy and astrology, but I feel it's very important for our humanity right now. The regular star represents the divine feminine. And after 2,000 years, it's exiting the constellation of Virgo. And Virgo is very kind of like strict, right? Very perfectionism, and it beautifies things. It makes sure everything is done right. But it's interesting for me that for those 2,000 years of all of the eclipse and the Lionsgate energies and all of the astrology, for me, in my work, that's what called my attention. Because for 2,000 years, the collective belief has been that women have been victims of men. That there's a male-female rift because of all the abuse that women have lived. Because of all the detachment we had from our mothers, the word that we were prostitutized, I don't know how to say it in English, but the regular star represents exiting that constellation of Virgo. I was thinking, what if we've been wrong for thousands of years? What if as women, we have believed that story, perfectly crafted? If there had been marketing in other realms, and they will have said, you know, women have been victimized and men have been in power. I'm not negating that has happened too. But what if for thousands of years, the feminine spirit has been in training for this moment? For this very moment. And this regular star exiting this constellation of Virgo, which is announcing of the divine feminine returning to her power. It's also not only for women, it's also for men. I believe that the day that we can heal the mother-daughter relationship, the mother-daughter, not mother boys, mother men, we're going to literally heal the world. Because the moment a woman feels safe with her own mother, right? And the mother feels safe with her own daughter, and everyone keeps their place, the boys will feel safe too. They will have a safe mother that will raise safe boys. There will be no rift. So something in the return to trust, and I don't know if you have gentlemen here on the call. I know some of my students are men that are going to hear this, but if we can right now in this process support women supporting others right now, like kind of us mothering each other, being that sister, being that friend. Stop competing with one another, because what we're competing is for the attention of the mother, and then the attention of the father, and then we compete for men. It's a waste of sacred energy that we are doing right now. This is going to help us heal, and then trust naturally will happen for us. We will begin to trust that we can take care of our bodies. We will begin to nurture ourselves back. That comes from the mother. We will begin back to not be in jealous states or envy states of one another, because we have reconnected to the mother within us, and to understand that is our job right now, to help each other heal. Literally, we have that opportunity to acknowledge, to celebrate women empowerment, to celebrate, not from a feminist movement kind of thing that I have no judgment. I actually have a very cool t-shirt about that, but not from the feminist perspective that is against the crimes of men that have done to women, but just to be that nurturing energy that is available when we support each other, when we celebrate one another. It is happening right now. I promise you, if you have someone that you can trust that is female, the healing of the mother is going to happen more. You will begin to trust more in yourselves. I know that every woman here has a mission. I can feel it. I cannot see them I know you have a mission. And the harder and the stronger the pain you've lived, the stronger your mission in the world. And you may say, but how am I going to find it? Just look at your pain. Write down every single thing you have mastered through it. How did you survive it? That's how you thrive. How have you mothered yourself when you were alone? How did you find connection when there was no people being aware of connection? Right now, that's the time. We are in such time. We are in the awakening. And to awaken as human beings, returning to the trust of the power within us, we got to let go. There's a spiritual surrender happening right now, because the new energies, the new creation, the new light needs us as empty as possible for us to be these vessels of this newness, this oneness that we are ready to experience as a collective, as individual beings. Oh, I hope this makes sense. I can't hear you.
Can do this. Yeah, no, I love what you're saying, and I would like to open it up if anyone has any questions about what Ivonne has so generously shared with us. And all you have to do is unmute yourself. But yeah, I think what you're speaking to is really why I do the work that I do in resolving trauma for people from this aspect of the wound, of the wounded child who never, like you said, never got listened to, never got honored for when they fall off their bikes. I remember my father saying, there's nothing wrong, there's blood. And when we experience pain for the first time, if we've been entrained to say that there's nothing wrong, get up, get on, get back on your bike, there's nothing wrong with you. We're never taught in that child part of us that is in the adult still how to handle things when it does get tough and scary. And I think that perhaps the reason that so much of this is being passed down for generations is because those adult parents that we had were never acknowledged or believed or heard or listened to, from a place of the witness, of the observer, to say, gosh, that must have really hurt, and allow that part of us that is in that hyperarousal to come down naturally. So I really think that, everything you're speaking of today, not just from a mind point, but a felt sense, is that healing, that coming back to the mother, the Mother Earth, the Pachamama, the collective of women in the red tent that are supporting each other from a place of not telling us how to fix, not telling us what to do, but to just be in silent support of us to each have our own experience. We as women have been so entrained out of that because we've been betrayed, or women have turned on us, and it's been happening for centuries. The witches of our ancestors that survived the burnings, we wouldn't be here if they hadn't. But so often in those past sort of ancestral traumas, there was this place of I can't trust women, because women turned on each other to keep their family safe, and for whatever reason, and there's fear there. So I think it all comes down to us really asking that question of what stopped us from being really in touch with feeling all emotions as equal, but specifically fear in the first place, because everybody's got their own version of why. And I think it's so important for each person, as you said, to uncover some of these elements of what it is. What am I so deeply afraid of? In that place of, as you said, rebirthing yourself to be the mother. And Hilma says she's trying to learn self-mothering. And I think there is an aspect, would you agree, Ivonne, that there is an aspect of the learning experience, that it is through inspiration, that it's okay to make mistakes. There are no mistakes. There is only the ability to choose to go where you don't know, where it is a little bit scary, and be willing to fall down and allow yourself to hurt and come down, and then make another conscious choice from there, so that we can really start to intelligently address what's the real current day fear compared to what is the old fear, where we're trying to find an exit path, where we're like saying, I give up, I don't want to do this, it's too hard. The victimology of the child that just needs to be seen, that needs to be loved, and grow up that child part of ourselves by addressing the trauma. Not just you wait until it's an emergency, because we all will lift the bus off the child if their life is at risk, and yet we're abandoning our own child parts by always going into the doing, and the fantasies that you spoke about of all the lies that we hear in the story tales as children. That Cinderella has to find the prince and the slipper fits, but no, the prince had to get his heel cut. The one sister cut the heel off, the other sister cut her toes off. It wasn't like he found Cinderella straight away. And we forget that there's this self-modulation and learning through that growth of pain to get to the place where we feel like, that there I am again, and meet ourselves there. I hope I'm making sense, but it just kind of was, the princess and the frog. We don't need the frog. We don't need to kiss the frog to come back to love, to return to trusting ourselves. Sometimes we need to hit the frog against the wall a couple of times and shatter all those false illusions to see that we actually are the ones that create our present moment that is the future. So, how do we get that system that's being set off by all these old fear patterns and putting you into this fight, flight, or freeze response, where women are walking around that are numbed out, saying, I'm fine, and they want that support, but they don't know how to trust women. And I so agree with you to say there are women out there that will hold you in the highest version of yourself when you cannot, and also deliver the strong medicine. I know, Ivonne, you do that. I do that very, very well. But from a place of honoring the tough love. Because people, you don't want tough love, but we need the tough love in order to grow. Just like the saplings in the forest need the wise old trees to show the saplings how to grow. We need that community, and it's stronger more than ever. There's this beautiful power in numbers in the tribe to actually look at those places where we weren't apprenticed as babies or children or teenagers on how to be with those many, many feelings of fear, because fear shows up differently, doesn't it? And also the body sensations that come with it. We want to be able to feel without attaching to that identification or over attachment to the emotion, but just to stay in that feeling space, so that we can let our bodies process it. That's that recalibration of that energetic blueprint that we're talking about, isn't it? We won't be hardwired only for this division of right or wrong. It's just the healthy fear response where our systems can go up to protect us and come down very, very quickly, instead of going into this constant loop of fight and flight and shutdown. And I think that's really what you've been saying. Would that, do you sort of agree that this is really what this conversation's been about tonight, of being able to just create our own safety, so that we don't keep getting stuck in this freeze or the shutdown stage where we feel like our contribution isn't enough, that we are creating change. And it's not about comparing yourself to, like you said, how many likes you got on Facebook or who's acknowledging this, but really just to stay, I will get up again. And when I do, I will be stronger than that, because of the experience, because I chose to have that experience, even if it's not what we want, because it hurts. But if we can just meet it and feel it, then we can start to see these patterns and release everything that's standing in our way. Christina says, is mothering also to do with balancing the masculine and feminine energies? I think Ivonne addressed that really it is about mothering and the patriarchal part of us that is strong, because I think we're all very strong women that are very strong in our masculine, and that we need to get the mother to mother the masculine parts. She says, if too low feminine, does that make nurturing and mothering difficult? Would you like to answer that, Christine? She says, Ivonne, she also says, and too low masculine, feeling afraid and unprotected. So I'm not sure if I understand you, but I think we're always just looking for harmonizing. That place where it's like the tough love is often very masculine. And then we need the softness of the mother as well. So we need both parts, the yin and the yang. Do you have anything to add to that, Ivonne?
Yeah, well, you know what? I do a lot of processes, and the masculine energy is the protector energy. The protector is the one that makes sure that the mother and the child are safe.
Mm-hmm.
The mother is a nurturing energy that makes sure the male is nurtured and the child receives everything he and she needs. So for me, it's actually a more simple process where we literally find more stillness these days. This is my recommendation, intuitively, that we go back to nature. We sit down in stillness there. Nature has the male and the female energy pretty balanced. We have them too. Our minds think we haven't. If you can go out, this was Christina?
Yes.
If you can go out in nature, love, and just be in stillness and allow, if you connect with that energy, just of quiet silence, and you just stay there for an hour or two, you really allow yourself to go be on earth. And whatever, I don't know what type of nature you have wherever you live, but I like to go to the mountains. I live in the desert, right? And just being in that presence, whatever is in me is going to balance naturally. I don't have to do to be who I am. There is nothing for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
The male energy and the female energy, the more stillness you have, the more balance you will behold. The more quiet you are within yourself, the more you will be able to hear the clarity of your next steps in life. The more you hear the clarity of your next steps in life, the more simple and effortless taking action will be. But for you, I feel you, and I go back into that place, and I'm like, I don't, there's nothing to do, but really just to sit and listen. But the male and the family at the end or the beginning, whatever it is, are one energy. It's just one. And so you go into nature and you will see how nature is operating into those balancing things. But you literally, I'm really prescribing like meditations of quietness, right? But really invest. The more the world gets into internet connection, the more nature we need, literally. And so for you, love, because I think you're very in tune, and I cannot see you or anything, I'm just trying to feel your energy here, but I feel there's a call in your soul right now to really go into nature and observe it. Allow literally the trees, the nature, the earth, all the elementals to do the work that the mind cannot do. it's going to be so natural for you. That's why a lot of people experience that they are in depression. They take them a week on the forest or a week on the desert, and they come back and the depression is gone and they're a new man, a new woman. What happened? It's not only the detachment from the old environment that a lot of programs of detoxification, eating disorders, drug addiction, they do. They have to take them out of their environment to create a new environment, right? But it's also the energies of nature. Never underestimate the power of spirit. Ever, never, ever. It will serve you. It will help you. It will answer your questions. It will facilitate everything you need for healing. Again, I want to repeat to you, sweetie, because without you, existence is not complete. And you don't have to believe it. There's nothing you have to do. You came here to exist and bless this earth as you. And so I will go in there. And the male obviously needs a lot of healing too. You know, they are not the tyrants. We are not the tyrants. We've just been, you know, playing with our free will in just so many different forms. And fortunately, everything has a cycle. And we're in the cycle of the return to trust. We're in the cycle of the return to us. We're in the cycle of letting go of the idols, stepping into the light and the God that is residing in our soul. I hope this serves, sweetie.
Thank you. And I just, I know that's exactly what Christina needed to hear, because I keep inviting her to get back to nature. We're, as you said, this electrical component of us. We have this electrical component. We have that nature moves in waves. And I know too much internet, too much computer time, too much cement under our feet. Nature is the best medicine there is, and to connect into those compass directions of the earth, to ground ourselves. She's the mother to all life forms, and yet we don't take the dose of medicine. So I think it's important also to have the rituality and be fierce about your boundaries, to take time into nature. It's so important for us to commit to our own well-being, and yet we're our greatest saboteurs because we know what we need to do, and yet we're not committed to doing it. So I think that's, again, what is important, to have that support and that accountability of people to remind you. You know what to do. Trust that you know what to do, and look at where are you denying yourself the joy of just going out in nature. And that goes for everyone that relates to that on the call, because I know I'm guilty of that too, of taking ourselves too seriously. And we get that creative energy when we're out in nature, and when we're in the element of air. I mean, this beautiful expansive space, and the quality of our breath, and the silence, and the stillness that we get when we're in nature. It's so powerful. It reminds us of our power. And we've got to let go of all this attachment of self-importance, or that we have to do the doing all the time. I think a lot of times you described that so beautifully when you were like, the masculine, the man is the one in the old belief systems and programming that had to go out to work, and he brought in the money, and there wasn't an emotional connection with the children. And the mother was the being of the nurturing and the love and the feeling. And it's all changing now. We need to bring the mother and the father energy together in the elementals of grounding, and of the water, and of the air, and so we can get back into this creative energy with that adaptability of knowing that we need all. We can't just be in one or the other. And to be honest and truthful enough with ourselves to say, gosh, I need to attune to more of this and respond to it just as nature responds. So thank you for that, because I think it's so it's such an important part, as we can conceptualize and we can dialogue and we can talk about this on a intellectual level. But if we're not practicing, if we're not committed to the practice of self-trust, if we're not returning to this place of honoring and self-loving ourselves enough to nurture and by nature, nothing is going to change. So, we need to look at our environments that we are creating from the old victimology of self-destruction, and because when we destroy ourselves, we're destroying the earth. So I think that's one of probably the most radical acts of kindness that that we can be in service to others is to clean up our own gardens, to clean up our own inner landscape. And it starts with getting back to your true nature. So thank you so much for that and for your wisdom. If there aren't any questions, I think we can wrap that up. If you have anything else to add, Ivonne, would you like to tell people how they can get hold of you?
Yeah, they can look for me right now. Literally, I'm in Facebook and Instagram as Ivonne delaFlor. Right now, that's how they can get to me.
All right, and I know that they will connect it from my Facebook page. So you please connect with Ivonne, watch what she's doing, see what she's practicing. You're so wise, and I'm just so honored that you spent this time with us today, and also for.
I cannot wait to go to do the trust process with you in the horses. I really believe. I just have to jump in and say this because animals, and. The animals, remember that they feel all of the changes. You saw it in the eclipse, how they are so wise, how to go in, there's a rhythm in there that hasn't been disconnected. They have no ego. So to be with horses right now, to be in these processes, like right now, actually today, my little son and I in homeschool, there is a refuge here, so how do you say it in English? There's lions here that are only one of a kind in the world that they're protecting them there. Who will know that it will be in the desert of Vegas? But they protect them so well, and we're going to go volunteer. We're going to go just feed them and everything. It's incredible how kind they are. Each time we serve, we're with animals. Our central nervous system, this is for everyone that experiences like survival and overwhelm, is when your central nervous system is very fast. And this comes from the mother not being able to self-regulate. I can't wait to be in a horse, literally, and do probably a rebirthing process with you and the horse that we can collaborate, because I believe that will help everyone. If anybody here feels like totally depressed or in anxiety, or you feel it in the solar plexus, right? You feel it empty. You feel your heart closed. Literally invest time with animals. Watch the rhythm. Listen to the sounds. It's pure medicine right now. And they are right now in tune with what is happening on Earth. And it will save us time, because by the time we process the ego and the mind and the beliefs and all of that, we could have done an amazing therapy with a horse.
Exactly.
By that time, we could be just relaxing and sitting still and saying, oh my gosh, remember, Christina, remember, Sarah, when I thought I was totally it was my doom day, and now I'm laughing about it. And now I even, those of you who are feeling really in darkness, I know it's hard when you are feeling like that. But the moment you feel a flash of light, write it down, because there's a program, there's a service in the experience that God, creation, however you want to call the energy, wants you to deliver to the world. No one goes through something just because. There's always a higher purpose in creation. There's always a higher purpose of you. So thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you all for joining us. And Ivonne is right. If you have ever been in the presence of an animal, you will connect back to your heart, especially horses. And they are the most sensitive creatures. You cannot keep lying to yourself and stay in this place of self-limitation when you're with a horse. So if you're in Joburg, I am going to be offering some more live classes at the end of the month. There's one coming up in Johannesburg. So get yourself over there and enjoy yourself with the lions, Ivonne. It's just so humbling, isn't it, to be able to stand in the presence of animal and connect with our own animal, that primal animal horse voice inside of us, that animal part that wants to get out of the mind and the ego. You can't live in your heart and your head at the same time. So learn to open your heart and just trust your intuition. And thank you for all these comments and questions, and for your time tonight. Ivonne will be back. I know she will be coming soon to South Africa. And
I would love to. Yes.
Yeah. So stay in touch. And thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Ivonne.
Thank you,
Thanks so
everyone.
much.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.